In the tangled web that passes for the rules and regulations of amateur status in the NCAA, how is it that some high school players can receive money during the college recruiting process and yet are still allowed to play college football, including some players at Florida, Miami, and Auburn? And how is it that someone named Dan Callaway can give away the money, and there is nothing the least bit illegal about doing it? That is the focus of this ESPN News investigative report by Jack Edwards, which is also tonight's cover story.
Dan Callaway has burned a loophole through the NCAA rulebook. Chosen as a community hero to carry the Olympic torch, Callaway carries on a personal crusade. He gives away money wherever he sees fit, much of it to football players. The sheriff's deputy has broken NCAA bylaws, says he is breaking them, and says he'll continue to break them.
I told the NCAA, I said, until you walk a mile in my shoes and understand that I'm holding kids who are dying in my arms, then you'll realize the only method that I got to stop that is to get them off into college or get them some kind of modicum to degree of education.
In part because of Dan Callaway, Michigan State's football program is on NCAA probation through 1999. Georgia is under investigation. While the NCAA zeroes in on institutions, players who took money from Callaway continue to play for #1 Florida, 3 teams in the top 25, at least 5 schools overall. Callaway is entirely unapologetic.
Are you still supporting kids at colleges?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
How many different colleges?
Oh, I would say at least 20. At least 20.
What if the NCAA knew about that?
Doesn't bother me none.
Callaway is the athletic director of 2 Palm Beach County, Florida youth sports organizations, one funded publicly, one privately. He says he supervises 35,000 kids.
Tell us about some of the guys that you've helped, names that we'd recognize.
Well, started with Anthony Carter, Otis Anderson, Derek Harper, Jesse Hester, Lamar Parrish, and Michelle McGann.
Many around Palm Beach County call Callaway Pop or Dad. He fashions himself as a general manager of an all-star stable of talent.
This is his avocation, his interest. He gets an emotional satisfaction from helping kids and following teams.
What's in it for you?
Nothing. Because this is what I've been doing all my life. This is my ministry. I don't know nothing else.
There's no indication that Callaway is in this for his personal gain.
Palm Beach County is one of college football's richest recruiting grounds. It also has areas of abject poverty.
Mr. Callaway had a lot of people in the community that he helped. I can remember several times that elderly women would not have money to pay their rent.
Newkirk began receiving Callaway's help during his senior season in high school after his mother died, leaving him an orphan. By that time, Michigan State coaches had established a relationship with Callaway.
There's no question. We found the NCAA ultimately determined that the action of the coaches made Callaway a representative.
Long-distance telephone records obtained by ESPN show that the Michigan State coaching staff made more than 90 calls to Callaway in a 2.5-year period ending in early 1995. Callaway helped arrange for Newkirk and 4 other high school recruits to make an unofficial visit to Michigan State. He gave them all cash and paid airfare and lodging, according to the Michigan State investigation. After Newkirk accepted a scholarship at Michigan State, Callaway sent him thousands of dollars in checks drawn on the account of his privately funded sports organization. The university blacked out Newkirk's name in the NCAA investigation exhibit. It did not black out the names of recruits appearing in the report who went on to attend other schools. Florida running back Fred Taylor told Michigan State investigators that he received as much as $9,000 from Callaway. Florida wide receiver Riedel Anthony said he received as much as $3,000 from Callaway. Callaway stopped giving them money when they chose a school he openly disliked.
You tell me if this is a fair characterization here. That you are big brother or father figure to some of these guys.
Yeah.
And you've told them there's only one thing that you can do to cross me.
Is to go to University of Florida. That's the only
And if you do that, you're cut off.
Florida Athletic Director Jeremy Foley told ESPN, quote, "The NCAA has told us that there are no eligibility consequences with those young men pertaining to their participation at the University of Florida. The NCAA has found no institutional violations by Florida either. How far does Callaway's influence reach? According to investigations conducted by Michigan State and the NCAA, University of Miami linebacker Michael Smith and running back James Jackson received cash, airfare, lodging, and free tickets from Callaway to visit East Lansing. The University of Georgia has received an official NCAA letter of inquiry outlining a possible relationship between its now departed coaching staff and Callaway. Georgia investigators have interviewed former recruits Martavius Houston and Eric Lowe, both of whom play for Auburn now. Callaway identified both as having received cash. Where does the money come from? As a sheriff's deputy, Callaway makes less than $60,000 per year.
Do you get any financial help from guys who've made it to the big time?
We shouldn't stay away from that. Michelle McGann, I'm going to tell you, Michelle McGann. Michelle McGann is my lifeline. And Derek. Now, I'll leave it at that.
But so what you're saying is there might be other guys who contribute, but they don't want their names known?
Yeah.
Because it's private?
Yeah.
Some of Callaway's money comes from individuals with school ties.
Ron Sellers will support me in anything I do. And just like and Tucker Ferguson at Auburn. And
both live in Palm Beach County. Sellers, a former NFL player, Florida State alumnus, and a member of Seminole Boosters, Inc., declined an interview with ESPN on this subject. Fredrickson, the one-time New York Giant, is a member of the Auburn Letterman Club, but says he has given money to Callaway's youth sports organizations as a civic booster, not a college booster.
But I've called friends and said, look, this is the right thing to do. Let's help out. And my checks have been written directly to local recreational entities and not directly to Dan Callaway. So I feel comfortable to say that that money was used for the purposes that Callaway said they were going to be used for.
Neither Auburn's nor Florida State's program faces sanctions for any connection to Callaway, according to the athletic directors of those schools. No investigation ever has revealed a money trail from any school to Callaway. He raises funds, then gives athletes money and advice. Individual athletes can lose NCAA amateur status even when they're still in high school. Any student athlete taking a benefactor's money risks his NCAA eligibility unless the benefactor also is giving money to students who are not athletes. We asked Callaway for names of non-athlete students to whom he had given money. He gave us two. One turned out to be his niece, the other a scholarship softball player. So it appears that the only students to whom Callaway has given money are athletes. We interviewed the NCAA on this subject October 18th.
If a community leader is giving money that goes virtually only to athletes or exclusively to athletes, and high school student athletes accept that money, are they compromising their college eligibility?
Yes, we do have an NCAA rule in place that says if an individual, because of athletics reputation or skill, does accept preferential treatment, benefits, or services from the community or from an outside organization, because of their athletic skill or reputation, they would jeopardize their eligibility under our amateurs and regulations.
Regardless of where the athlete ends up going to college, which may even be against the advice of the benefactor?
That's correct. If they choose to go to an NCAA collegiate institution, it would carry with them for any NCAA college.
On Tuesday and Wednesday, NCAA enforcement told ESPN that amateurism, as it related to the Michigan State investigation, was a new issue. Early Wednesday, ESPN contacted athletic directors at Florida, Auburn, and Miami. They all said their athletes were in the clear. Then, on Thursday, Yamayanis called ESPN to say that, upon further consideration, amateurism was no issue at all. Why did the NCAA change what it was saying? Because, Yamayanis said, this is an issue of either amateurism or recruiting, but it cannot be both. This either-or policy means that no athlete involved in a recruiting investigation even can have his amateur status examined, no matter how much money he may have taken in the recruiting violation. Asked where that stance is supported in the 579-page NCAA manual, Yamayanis said she didn't know if it was. This, to me, sounds as if it is a perfect loophole, because if you have a high school athlete who pretty much in his mind knows where he wants to go to school and knows he's going to get a scholarship offer there, and he's got 4 other official recruiting trips that he can take, well, let's say he just cultivates a nice relationship with 4 sugar daddy boosters, takes, let's say, $3,000 from each of the schools that he's visiting. What you're saying is that as long as he doesn't take money from a representative of the athletic interests of the school in which he does enroll, that he can pocket the 12 grand and go ahead and play football. Because that's exactly what's going on here with the Florida players.
Well, I don't know if that's...
But that's the practical application of this law. Because Riedel Anthony took $3,000, admitted that to Michigan State investigators, and Fred Taylor took $9,000 and admitted that to Michigan State investigators. And Rich Hilliard told us directly that there was no partial or full immunity or amnesty in connection with the Michigan State case. And these guys are now playing for the University of Florida.
I think that's exactly right.
So what are the consequences for taking money from Dan Callaway? As long as you don't go to Michigan State or possibly Georgia, the 2 schools with which the NCAA associates Callaway, there are no consequences at all. In Palm Beach County, Florida, Jack Edwards, ESPN.
And now this follow-up, Riedel Anthony caught a couple of touchdown passes for Florida on Saturday. He leads the country with 12 of them. The NCAA has cleared the programs at Florida, Auburn, and Miami in connection with the Callaway case, but in the Georgia program, it's still being looked at because the staff may have used Callaway in some of the ways Michigan State did. Robin.
Still to come, both the Lakers and the Knicks are undefeated so far this season. We'll have more on their matchup tonight in the Garden later. And coming up next, this little Indian lost his home on the mound in Cleveland. Details when SportsCenter rolls on in a moment.